In this replay analysis, we're going to look at Renegade, who is a Legend 4 player who's going to be playing position 4 Rubick, and in particular we're going to focus on how to find farm on the map as a support without taking it away from your cores.
Lessons that cannot be unlearned.
Welcome to the Judge of Obelisk. So I've seen this replay twice before, and in general Renegade plays quite well, but the one really big problem he has is he's not getting enough farm. And Rubick is a hero that is actually fairly farm intensive for a support. So it's quite important to find that farm, and of course you don't want to take away that farm from your cores. So that is primarily what we're going to focus on in this video. So right away he places this ward here, which is a ward that can be really good. Like there was one video I think of Jenkins who talked about a game where Puppy used this particular ward to snipe a lot of couriers, and that's certainly one of the uses you can make of this ward. It can also be useful if you're gonna back lane, or you're gonna pull a wave, like something like this, pull a wave behind your tower. Then that ward can maybe be helpful, but if you're just gonna lane normally, this ward doesn't really do anything. Like there's not going to be any sort of activity here within the first couple of minutes, so not the best positioning. Rather, we want to place the ward somewhere like here if you can get away with it, or maybe something like this, or maybe something like here or here. All these are decent spots, but this doesn't really see anything, so it's not too useful. So item build here is very standard so far. I started with boots and a pair of tangos. Boots is quite strong on Rubick at the start because you can do a lot of good trading with your Fate Bolt and just with your right clicks if you have the movement speed. So now he's also going to ferry himself out a set of tangos, some branches, and a clarity, quite good items. I would have liked him to ferry that out a little bit earlier. Like he's already kind of low, and he should have had that set of tangos earlier, but he has it now. So Renegade has decided to go with a level of Arcane Supremacy at level 2, which is a rather unusual choice. Usually you see people skill telekinesis. This of course is more of a sort of passive farming kind of build, where you just want to sit in lane here, and against these particular heroes in lane, you're not really going to have any kill potential with your telekinesis probably, so it makes sense. The problem here is that if you let me pause for a second here. The problem here is then that it just means you can't really do any useful rotations before you have that level in telekinesis. And since you probably want Fate Bolt level 2 at level 3, that means you can't really do anything outside your own lane until you're level 4. So that's a bit of a problem, but in this lane I think I can live with it. But generally you want to get that telekinesis level 2. Take a look at that courier. This courier is running through here and is being attacked by the neutrals. Why does that happen? So you watch that again. The courier is not being attacked here. It's hit once by the clockwork, and now that the creeps are aggroed by those creeps and there's nothing else to attack, they will attack the courier. So they won't attack a courier if there's any other valid target nearby, and they also won't aggro the couriers if the courier just flies through. But if they're already aggroed and then the last creep here dies, then they're also going to go on that courier. So that's why that courier got killed by the neutrals, in case you were wondering. Renegade is once again out of region, but he's already brings with extra region, so that's very good. And of course you want to try to trade with that Faceless Void, but if you had no creeps and he has the full creep wave here, you have to back off. That's why you have the boots. You can back off. You're faster than the Void unless he wants to jump forward, which would be unwise because then the Clockwork might be able to kill him. So when your creep wave dies, you have to move back. It's always a sort of back and forth in these lanes. When the enemy has the creep advantage, you have to back off. When you have the creep advantage, you can hit them and you can get good trades. So I think he's relying a bit too much on these clarities here that are very easy to cancel for Ogre. So I think you just should mostly rely on mangoes. As a range hero, you can sort of sometimes get away with getting clarities, but it's just quite unreliable, and often it's better just to rely on mangoes, which are also a pretty nice HP region before you eat them. So if you do a pull like that, when you have a stacked camp, you want to be actually hitting the creeps and not trying to deny here. Because you want to get some of that juicy gold here. You can also be using Fate Bolt here to just clear those creep camps. Also, the 5 minutes are coming up, so you need to be at the ruins and not sticking around with these random creeps. So if you just Fate Bolt this once, maybe even twice, you can clear all these creeps, get some of the golden XP, and be here in time for the runes. So he still manages to get one of these runes, but Ogre's chasing him down, and he has a problem that he doesn't have telekinesis. With telekinesis, you could easily shake this Ogre, but as it is, Ogre sort of overcommits here, and now he's going to be chased down by our Invoker, who is not really losing very much in mid here, so this is okay thing for him to do, and he is going to get the kill, and it's not good for Clockwork to rotate out here. Clockwork should be in this lane. There's no reason for him to be back here. So our Rubick now heading back. He's pretty low, so it makes sense. And he's also fairly close to the base. So in general, low-level players often make the mistake of going back to base too much. You should very rarely go back to base in the laning stage. But if you're already this close to your base, you might as well go back. Right now, Rubick is rotating into middle. Problem is just that by the time Rubick has hit level 4 for the telekinesis, our Ember is already 6. So it's very unlikely that you're going to get a kill with Invoker and Rubick onto this Ember Spirit. So this is just sort of wasting your time, and honestly, your Clockwork could use some help. So this is not a very sensible rotation. I mean, you just run them away here, and nothing happens in mid, and now Rubick is walking back. So instead of being bottom and soaking up some of the experience, he's going top and trying to help out there, which is not unreasonable. That's definitely a lane where you have some kill potential. So you see them going onto Necrophos and killing him, but this Pudge is too fast for them with his boots and windlays. So Rubick not really contributing anything at top. So just the last minute and a half, he's basically not really done anything, which is walked around a lot and hasn't found anything. Rubick's still wandering, but our Invoker is contributing at bottom, doing some sort of gank there. So now Rubick of course takes over that lane for a little bit, but now Invoker is TPing back here. So if you had been on that lane a little bit earlier, that would have been much more useful. And now it's time for stacking, or pausing apparently. And he's, I think, a little bit too late here. If he had moved straight there, he could have gotten the stack, but not paying attention to the clock here. So fight is brewing at top, and Rubick TPs here, which is reasonable, but unfortunately once again he can't really do anything in this fight. Maybe he can kill this Ogre, but he lifts him up and throws him in the wrong direction. Should have thrown him back here. So this way the Ogre can escape, and now you're kind of in this awkward position. You have 3 heroes top. You don't really want to have so many heroes top at this stage of the game. If you're already here at 9 minutes and 30, the Sevven is already starting to turn into a dead lane. It's not really a lane where you want to have extensive fighting, because the geography of the map doesn't really allow for that. But there's this big stack here, so you kind of have to hang around, which is a bit awkward, because you really want to be like down here, but kind of have to be here. So Necro is level 6, immediately uses his ultimate on Pugna and gets the kill. So as Rubick, kind of difficult position here. You put in, you have no mana. Clockwork also TP's top. So right now you should be disengaging. You should be TPing bot, but no TP is available yet. So it's all kind of awkward position. Clockwork should have TP'd up here. So right now the Invoker is very low, and he doesn't really want to show in lane. So this is a perfect opportunity for you as Rubick to sit in lane a little bit and farm that wave. Instead, it's going to want to top you. You don't want to be top. Top is the dead lane now. You don't want to play top. You want to play middle. You want to play bottom. And I mean, sure, you can walk in here. You can do some harassment on this Necro, but that doesn't really do anything. And in the meantime, lots of experience being lost in mid, lots of gold being lost in mid, and that is called you could be claiming as Rubick. and once again we're wandering into top lane. So what should you be doing instead? Well, one possibility is just group up with your Clockwork and your Pugna and go for a smoke. That's certainly a strong possibility. Another thing you could do is just find one of those empty lanes and sit in it for a little bit, like this bottom lane. It's a perfectly fine play to do. If you have a Precision 3 hero like Clockwork, who wants to be very active around the map, it's fine to just sit in the offlane for a little bit. Or here, just hitting this tower with your team is also fine, because you want to, of course, take down the tower. It's a mid tower is the most important tower pretty much in the game, and with a hero like Pugna, you can definitely seize that tower and take it down. So Invoker found a haste rune, wants to make a play on top, so I guess it's correct to follow him here. So generally you don't want to play top, but in this position I guess it's okay. But you can see how tough it is to actually get these kills, because it's so easy for the opponents to reinforce here. They do get that one kill, but they had to commit 4 heroes here, and didn't really get any sort of tower damage done because the creep wave wasn't even here. Rubick is in the top lane. He's just stolen Rot, unfortunately. So your Juggernaut is just leaving. So what can you do here? You can just push out this wave. Juggernaut unfortunately gets killed here. So as a carry, you don't really want to play in the dead lane anymore at this point in the game. That's exactly why. You can just get killed really easily. But as a support, especially if you're as poor as our Rubick, it's fine to die. You're not nearly punished as much for dying, so you can just sit somewhere like here. When the wave pushes in, you can just push it out together with your Fate Bolt, maybe some right clicks, and just mostly soak experience. You know, someone needs to be there to soak that experience up and to sort of delay that push a little bit. And the Pugna is fulfilling this role now, but really you can do that equally well with Rubick, and this is just one of the ways you can get some farm. This is also nice. He does the double stack here. If you do this right, if you aggro at the right time, you can stack both those camps with basically any ranged hero. That's definitely something you want to practice somewhere in the lobby. Just use any sort of ranged hero. Of course, especially important for supports, but also for ranged cores. These particular camps are quite easy to stack. So right now, there's a neutral item sitting in the base for quite a while, the Iron Talon. It's not an ideal item for Rubick, but still it's an item that can help you farm, can help you do some channeling camps. So don't just let that sit in the base unused. So in this fight, you want to be definitely Fate Bolting more. As long as you have enough mana, just spam out that Fate Bolt, and you still have lots of mana with a magic wand. So he manages to steal Chrono here, which is quite nice. Gets a really good Chrono, but it's not really enough to rescue that fight. And so definitely I want to see more Fate Bolts here in those fights. It's an ability with a fairly short cooldown, so no reason not to just spam that. It's just, not just the damage, also just the damage reduction, which is quite strong. They've just given up that siege, but the enemy wants to contest here. So as Rubick should be Fate Bolting here way more. Yeah, now finally Fate Bolt on that Faceless Void. So gets a good Chrono here, very nicely done, and that is going to be a hook here. Where it's a really good Rubick play, really good use of those spells. Just like I would like to see some more Fate Bolting, but overall he's doing really well, especially considering how little net worth he has, and I also really like the itemization and getting that Casual Windlace and those infused raindrops really helps out a lot in those fights. And they're gonna find Void and kill him, so very nicely played fight here from Rubick. So here's a perfect opportunity to get some more farm. Just push out this wave, and he goes for the region rune first, which is fine as well. So we'll push out this wave and try to get last hits if possible. This one was a bit random here and gets this one despite high ground mischance. So right at this point you actually want to stay here in the mid lane for a little bit. They want to push in this wave probably, so there's going to be more farm here in the mid lane, and he's not really getting too much done here, wandering around. And you just like you need someone to defend that mid lane, and Invoker is now, he can farm much faster, he can move around with these jungle camps, which as Rubick can't do. So it's good for him to just farm the jungle, be more mobile, and maybe push out that top wave, maybe with those Forge Spirits, while you can soak up the experience in mid lane. Instead, they get the tower at bottom, which is fine, but they would have gotten it anyway without Rubick as well. So just need to find more opportunities just to get some farm in. And seeing empty lanes is like the most valuable farm, because that's the farm that's pretty independent of your level of items. So if you have no items, doing jungle camps is not easy, but you can still do the lanes just fine. Nice hook here, they get the Ogre Magi, and it's a quick kill. So Rubick just respawned and TP top, which makes a lot of sense. The wave is pushing in there, you can get some good farm here. And sure, the Invoker could also have TP'd there, but the Invoker also has lots of other farm nearby, so you're not really taking away farm from the Invoker, from the other cores here, by doing this move. So at this point, I think you should just stay with this lane and be a bit more careful here, maybe sit here. But instead, it's going to walk into vision here. This is a bit risky, but if you're this low in net worth, you might as well take that risk. But now, of course, you have to be a bit more careful here, and you can maybe still hang around this general area. Maybe just do like one of these small camps here, and then hit back for the wave. See some more vision, but see Clockwork doing aggressive stuff here. So Rubick is going to join in, and honestly, I don't think this is necessary. You can just stay in this lane. You could have just taken this wave as well, and then gone away. Of course, you don't want to stick around for the Ember here, but Ember is actually going to be engaged here on by Invoker, who is going to get that kill. So nicely done for Invoker. Pugner is doing some sort of crazy diving here onto this high ground area here, which is not a good idea, and you should also not participate here as Rubick. If your Clockwork is going to be in front, you can maybe do that. So they're going to try to get that Necro, but it gets hooked out. And nice hook shot here from the Clockwork. So it works out well for them, but like invading this area is kind of difficult, and especially if you're man down, it's just not a good idea, even though in this case here it works out. So they're pushing this top lane, and that's Rubick very smartly here, staying behind here in the trees, and ready to back up his team, but not being in vision, so you can't be engaged on, you can't be hooked. Dragon is still disconnected, so you don't really want to make any sort of aggressive plays, and this is just not movements you want to make. You would just push out the side lanes, you want to farm the jungles, and as Rubick can easily hit one of these jungle camps here, or one of these waves. But instead, they're going to go for this aggressive move here. They get Chronos, which is a quite natural thing to happen here. And Dragon just joined, so going to try to do his best here, but yeah, it's just not going to happen. He's going to be able to get out of here, so that's one good thing. But just in general, this fight not going well, and it's just like, what did you expect? You're down a man, and you're fighting into this high ground area with Chrono available. Of course you can add Chronos. So they just scanned here and see that the enemy are doing Roshan. So they're converging on there, with Clockwork also TPing in, and hits a nice hook shot here, and maybe you can get a good fight here. So as Rubick, you want to stay back here, you want to cast your spells for maximum range, and they get a nice kill here, and now they can finish this Roshan. And as Rubick, you want to just stay out here, maybe not move this far forward, it's a bit risky. You want to stay more like here or here, and be able to respond when the enemy tries to go in there. But with Chrono down, this is a nice fight here for our boys in the Dire lineup, and they get this Roshan, and now they're going to be much stronger here with Juggernaut back and with an Aegis. So again, we see our boy Renegade just sort of wandering around here. This is a good ward, this is nice, but you can definitely hit a jungle camp or two here. You have full mana, you have full HP, you don't mind trading some of your mana and HP for a jungle camp. But let's say he's just gonna sort of wander around here. Like, what do you expect to do here as two heroes right outside the enemy high ground? Like, even if you get like a good hookshot target, it's so easy to save here, and just this doesn't make any sense. Just wasting a lot of time here. So here's a camp here. You can pull this and then use a Fate Bolt to farm this. So he's gonna try for the pull, but doesn't quite get it. I think it's better if you pull in this direction here. But anyway, you should definitely be using Fate Bolt. You have full mana, you have Arcane Boots available. No reason not to Fate Bolt this here. They can easily right-click them down here. There's a bit more fighting going on. Clockwork, not really finding anything there. Only the camp. And Rubick once again sort of wasting time, wandering around aimlessly. When you can just take this camp. That's fine, no one was going to take that aside from you. You can just take it. So now a fight is breaking out and Rubick is a bit too far forward here. He should be walking back and not forward here. But he gets saved by Pugna. It's not quite going to be enough though, with this Ember coming in here and kills him off. So like really not a good fight. You don't want to be fighting here into the enemy triangle if you can help it. You just want to get wards at the entrances to the enemy jungle. So maybe you get a ward somewhere like here, or maybe a ward somewhere like here, or maybe somewhere like here. Sort of see when the enemy are going to leave the base, and then you just farm the entire map and not sort of fight into these high ground positions going in one by one. That's not a good recipe for success. They just kill an ogre, and now Renegade is going to smoke his team here, but this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. This is an area where the enemy is often going to have vision, and this wave was not pushed in, so you saw that Juggernaut immediately just breaks the smoke and goes farm. But they're going to find this Necrophos here, so that's going to be most likely an easy kill. So generally the idea of that smoke is good, but just try to smoke in a position that's less conspicuous. Invoker goes in on Necrophos, so as a Rubick of course you want to follow, but you don't want to get into the thick of things. You want to stay back as far as possible. So good job there. They kill the Necro, and now this Pudge also going to die. So this is a bit too far forward here. You should be staying behind that creep wave. And yeah, at this stage of the game you can definitely just push in. You have 2 heroes dead. Just have to watch out for Chronos. But as long as you don't stand with all your heroes in one spot, you should be fine here. And this is pretty good positioning here. Maybe a bit too far back, maybe like here would be better. So they try to get something done here, but it's not that easy. Maybe slightly farther forward here with Juggernaut coming in. It's going to be safer here, and they can just easily hit on this tower. You should be using Blade Fury here. So they get the tower, and then they want to go out here. Necrophos being slightly initiated here on, but this is just not going to work out too well for them with that Chrono coming in. But Chrono again stolen. It's just kind of difficult to use Chrono against Faceless Void, so Void dies here but has buyback. So they want to continue this push, but Invoker is going to die. So if they'd just gotten out when they had that tower, it would have gone really well. But as it is, it's just difficult. Rubick trying his best to solve the situation, but this Chrono doesn't really do anything. It just only delays the inevitable, and so they all get wiped here just because they stayed too long. If you're in this 5 versus 5 position, it's just very hard to go high ground, especially in the mid lane. It's just not a good idea, especially against Chrono. Just back off, farm the map, place vision outside the enemy high ground. These kinds of wards, they're cheeky and maybe you can get away with them sometimes, but usually not. So now it's time for the Radiant to go for the high ground attempt here. With all of them dead, they can easily get at least the tower and maybe more, because there's still a lot of time here left on this very high level Invoker. Still gonna be dead for 15 seconds. So nice repair kit usage here out of Rubick, using a smoke to do that safely. That's pretty smart. If you have enough smokes left, definitely something you can do. And they even get this Pudge. That's a nice exit kill, and they save their melee racks. So pretty well done. And once again, our boy Rubick just not farming enough. You can just hit like this camp. Let's hit any of these camps with your fade ball and your right clicks. You can do those camps. And another engagement here on Faceless Void. He just dies even though it's chrono. And I think that's a dieback. Yeah, it's a dieback, so now it's definitely time to go high ground. So definitely what you want to do as Rubick, you sort of stay on the edges here. You don't want to go onto the high ground, but kind of staying far back like this is probably okay. This is a bit too far forward, and it's getting to risky territory. You don't want to dive here, you just want to hit those objectives. Clockwork gets out here, and they're kind of forced back now. And primarily I think just because Clockwork was a bit too aggressive here. If they just siege those buildings with their Juggernaut and with all the damage and Invoke can provide, those buildings fall quite quickly. But they still have another minute left here with no carry on the enemy team, so they managed to get another kill here. So now it should be an easy Rax, and our boy Rubick staying back nicely. Now with the hook you have to go in there, save your carry, but Punch is also going to die, and Clockwork is probably going to survive. So that's going quite well. And now of course you just want to move to the next lane. Still 2 people dead, but Clockwork gets hooked here, and as Rubick once again use those phase bolts. And yeah, so with 2 people of them being dead, it makes sense to go back a little bit, just split up, take those runes, and then continue later on. I suppose at some point I should be talking about itemization as well. I haven't talked about much so far, since it's pretty much spot on getting those value items, the Windlace, the Bracer, the Magic Wand. We also had a Raindrops at some point. And then of course going for Ether Lens, very strong item on Rubick. Extra cast range always appreciated. Blink Dagger also great to get off various of your stolen abilities. So now the Radiant want to come out and play, and nice lift there on that Faceless Void. Unfortunately no proper follow up, so he gets out here, possibly. Yes, he gets out, so unfortunate, but Pudge has found initiation as well, and Pugna is dead. So as Renegade, you just want to stay back here. You want to throw out your spells, and now you can blink forward and initiate on that guy, or follow up on that guy rather. And so Necrophos is also going to die, and so this was a pretty well played fight here from Rubick, and they get this very nice exchange of exchanging a support here for 2 of the enemy cores. So now it's pushing time. Juggernaut once again being hooked here. Not the best at dodging those hooks. And yes, Rubick, you don't want to be on the high ground here. You want to sit behind your cores, behind your Juggernaut, and you want to do the counter initiation, not the initiation. Because you're just too fragile, and Rubick, you don't have any real survivability items here. So they take on the tower, and once again on the hook here. And yeah, this blink forward is a bit too aggressive, I think. Also just needs more fate bolting. Needs more fate bolting here. But fight still goes well, and they just keep hitting those Raxes. And at this stage they're just really far ahead. So from this point forward the game is pretty much decided. It's going to go on for another couple of minutes, but those are not the most interesting. So for the most part, our Rubick played his hero really well. He's, I think, an experienced Rubick player, and he just did a lot with what little farm he had. Just the primary thing that you need to improve here is just finding that farm. And there's just so many moments when he's just walking past creep camps, wandering aimlessly and not really getting much accomplished. And a lot of lower level MMR players have the problem of doing jungle camps too much, but here's the thing: it's a case of not doing them enough, and also just not taking enough lane farm. And especially if you're playing, you know, below the pro level or below the very high MMR level, a lot of your cores are going to be less efficient at farming. There's going to be a lot of space on the map, that gets not used on a farm that isn't actually claimed. So you can always find some extra farm here and get some of the sweet last hits, so you can get those nice items you can use to win fights earlier, and not sort of be at the bottom of the net worth. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and tell your friends about this channel. And if you haven't already, join the fold by subscribing and by ringing the bell. And Obelisk willing, I'll see you next time.